You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The views expressed by the individuals during this broadcast are their own opinions, and they may not be the same as those of their group or other organizations they may be involved with.
All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
Oh yeah, baby, that's lovely.
Good morning, it's December the 18th, and welcome to Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News. I'm live here at paceradio.net and 420pace.ca. As you can see, I'm alone. Cindy has a day off, but I've got 5 articles to talk to you about. They include the U.S. rescheduling of cannabis, psychedelics for the win over OCD, and the U.S. Supreme Court rejects a federal cannabis prohibition challenge. But first, I'm going to get us started with the story that comes to me from CBC. And the headline on that, as you can see, says that the RCMP not aware of fentanyl in illegal cannabis in Nova Scotia, despite the Premier's claim. The Nova Scotia RCMP says it's not aware of any fentanyl-laced cannabis being sold by unauthorized cannabis retailers in the province. This after the Premier made his claim in a news conference last week. Now, Houston's remarks came amid growing tension between the province and the Mi'kmaq communities after a directive earlier this month from Attorney General and Justice Minister Scott Armstrong ordered a province-wide crackdown on illegal cannabis. Houston says, I've talked to people in law enforcement who have told me that this province, that they've taken illegal cannabis from unregulated regulated illegal dispensaries and tested it and found that it was laced with traces of fentanyl. Now, he goes on to say that sometimes I hear I don't buy from the government supply because I don't get the same buzz. Well, that's probably why. Just adds another insult on there. Now, Nova Scotia, the RCMP there contradicted that statement. They said, based on the information currently available to us, the Nova Scotia RCMP is not aware of any fentanyl having been detected in cannabis products seized by the RCMP from illegal stores in the province. Why did he even say that? Fear-mongering? Trying to scare people? Just trying to come up with some bullshit excuse so he could go in and force their provincial laws on the treaty lands, on the First Nations? Just crap. Just hate that stuff. Clip it. Do that for me, please. Those who do StreamYard know what I'm talking about. That's just not right. Not right whatsoever. You know, it's not only it's not right. People shouldn't be doing that. You know, cannabis has got enough stigma, and then this crap that comes out on top of it. Wrong. So, all right. Instead of me ranting on about that, I'm just going to move on to the next story, and we'll go from there. So, okay, here we go. This one comes to me from the Marijuana Moment. Headline on that one says that White House confirms Trump will address marijuana rescheduling Thursday, but reported details on the final decision are speculation. Today's Thursday. Originally, all weekend long, there was news out headlines saying that Trump's going to reschedule cannabis on Monday. Monday came and went, and not a single comment as far as what he was going to do. So now It's Thursday. And apparently, according to the information I've got, it's going to happen. He's supposed to have an announcement this afternoon on it. So we'll find out. But here goes the story. A White House spokesperson has confirmed to Marijuana Moment that President Donald Trump is currently expected to address cannabis rescheduling on Thursday, though they added that details of this potential action until officially announced by the White House are speculation. This comes amid a rapidly churning rumor mill about the president's potential plans to issue an executive order directing the Attorney General to proceed with a proposal to move cannabis from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3 of the Controlled Substances Act. Now, sources familiar with the administration's planning say that an announcement on the rescheduling move is planned for 1:30 Eastern Time today, and that Trump will be surrounded by various cannabis industry and movement stakeholders when signing the order. It's also being speculated that the plan is to take a novel but logistical complicated approach to CBD. Sources have said that drafts of the executive order have called on the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services to amend its rules so that people on Medicare reverse reimbursements for CBD products. Opponents of the policy change have stepped up their efforts to persuade the administration from moving forward. They're arguing that a reclassification of Schedule 3 will further normalize cannabis use, even though it would not federally legalize the plant. Rescheduling would, however, let cannabis businesses take federal tax deductions while reducing certain research barriers associated with Schedule 1 drugs. Now, Rep. Andy Harris, he's a Republican. He says he's one of the more vocal prohibitionists in Congress. He says this week that Trump doesn't have the authority to just unilaterally reschedule cannabis via an executive order. Now, a major drug testing industry organization simply said it's sounding the alarm amid the reports Trump may soon finalize rescheduling proposal, arguing that the policy change would have catastrophic consequences for the safety of the United States workforce and transportation sectors. So there you go, more of it. So what happened? I don't know. We'll find out. It's just shortly after 10 o'clock here Thursday morning. I'm not sure when you're catching this, but the announcement is supposed to come this afternoon at 1:30. We'll wait and see what happens. And if it does happen, watch our Facebook page, Psychedelics Cannabis Educational News, and I'll make sure that I get it posted up there. So, all right. Move on to my third story of the day. And this one is coming to me from MJ Biz Daily. And the headline on that one, if I can get it there, says that the U.S. Supreme Court rejects federal marijuana prohibition challenge. The U.S. Supreme Court on Monday declined to hear a challenge to federal cannabis laws brought by 4 licensed cannabis companies, including a major cannabis stakeholder operator. The litigants were Verano Holdings, Canna Provisions, a Massachusetts cannabis retailer, Gayasi Sellers, CEO of Tree Vet Delivery Service, and Wiseacre Farm, who is a cultivator. The Supreme Court justices met behind closed doors on December the 12th to consider cannabis companies' petition brought after a lower federal court in Massachusetts and an appellate court rejected their constitutional challenge to federal cannabis laws. They argue conditions have changed so much since then, and that more than 24 states have legal adult use cannabis, that the factual basis for the ruling in Gonzalez versus Rock no longer applies. Their appeal also referenced comments in a separate case in 2021 from the Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas, who suggested federal cannabis law might not be necessary or proper. Now, in their appeal, the companies argued that the U.S. Constitution affords them a right to cultivate and transact in cannabis that is deeply rooted in this nation's history and its legal traditions, and that this Controlled Substances Act violates the Fifth Amendment's rights to due process. Clip that. Apparently, the Supreme Court disagrees. So there they go. Another challenge defeated. Who knows? Well, that's the Supreme Court. It can't go any higher than that. So all they can hope is that someday a president and his party, or their party, will eventually reschedule it, and not just reschedule it, but deschedule cannabis, because rescheduling 2 or 3, it might help a little bit with the medical end. Tax write-off helps the businesses, but as far as the everyday person who's out there just wanting to smoke a joint or concentrates or whatever, nothing. No legalization or anything. So it's just frustrating. That's all, people. Sorry. All right. On to my next story of the day. And this one is coming to me from the Medical Express. The headline there says psilocybin shows greater potential than cannabinoids for obsessive compulsive disorder treatment. They say that in a review of previous studies, McMaster University researchers observed a stronger signal for psilocybin as a treatment for obsessive compulsive disorder than cannabinoids. Now, compulsive disorder, tongue twister, folks, involves persistent, intrusive thoughts and repetitive mental or physical behaviors and requires long-term treatment to alleviate symptoms. Now, the etiology of the disorder appears complex, involving multiple biological pathways. Imbalances in the central serotonin, dopamine, and glutamate activities are widely thought to play a causative role, placing neurochemistry at the center of many treatment strategies. Interest in psychedelics has returned to psychiatric research within the past decade, with a focus around potential effects on neural circuits tied to compulsive behavior, anxiety regulation, and affective processing. Now, in this study, new treatments of OCD evidence for cannabinoids and psychedelics, which was published in Journal of Psychiatric Research, researchers conducted a comprehensive scoping review to elevate evidence associated with psilocybin in OCD, including treatment-resistant obsessive compulsive disorder. Published and graded literature were included, and reports covered cannabinoids plus psychedelic compounds such as psilocybin, LSD, and DMT. Now, Strain Print, which is a smartphone application, reporting tracked 1,810 cannabis use sessions over 31 months among 87 users who used prescribed medical cannabis for OCD. Now, session logs recorded reductions in intrusive thoughts in 89.6% of the sessions, reductions in compulsions in 95% of the sessions, and reduction in anxiety in 94% of the sessions, alongside worsening rates of 3% for intrusions, 2.3% for compulsions, and 1.9% for anxiety. Now, the average before and after comparisons for inhaled sessions reported a 49% reduction in intrusions and 60% reduction in compulsions and a 52% reduction in anxiety. Now, higher CBD concentrations and higher CBD doses predicted greater reductions in compulsions only. Now, in international retrospective self-reported reporting enrolled 174 participants with OCD across France, Canada, Belgium, the United States, and Switzerland, who reported at least one psychedelic use. Now, classic psychedelics are reported as the only category associated with significant positive changes in OCD symptoms. Duration reports split, with 33% reporting improvements lasting more than 3 months and 33% reporting improvements lasting less than a week. Now, after psilocybin and LSD use. Now, a relationship was reported between intensity and pleasantness of acute psychedelic effects and a degree of symptom improvements. Variable dose reporting in 9 treatment-resistant OCD patients described acute YBOCS reductions during a 24-hour testing period after at least 1 dose for every participant, with reductions ranging from 23% to 100%, and 89% maintained at least a 25% decrease at 24 hours post-ingestion for at least 1 dose, while 66% maintained at least a 50% decrease at 24 hours post-ingestion for at least 1 dose. Now, dose response testing in that cohort reported no significant dose effect on the compulsive scale. Within subjects reporting compared a 10 milligram synthetic psilocybin dose to a 1 milligram active control dose in 18 adults with moderate to severe OCD, with doses separated by 4 weeks in fixed order. Now, survey scores of 1, 2, and 4 weeks after the 10 milligram dose were significantly better than baseline, with the greatest reduction at 1 week. It's always great when you can read stuff like that, where high numbers and benefits to people, and the fact that this lasts, greatest reduction at 1 week. So instead of taking something every day, like we do with prescription medications, maybe you have to microdose once a week, and that would be it. So, all righty. From that story, I'm moving on to my last story of the day. And this one is coming to me from Leafly. And the headline on it, as you can see, it says microdosing psychedelics boost mood and creativity on dosing day. Dosing day, says the study. Now, a study has found that people who microdose psychedelics experience improved mood, creativity, and focus on the days that they take small doses, but these effects don't carry over to the following day. Now, the research published in the journal Psychopharmacology tracked more than 1,400 people from 49 countries who regularly microdose substances such as psilocybin, mushrooms, and LSD. Participants report significant higher levels of well-being, productivity, creativity, and correctiveness, complication, and focus on microdosing days compared to non-microdosing days. Now, microdosing, here, I'll bring this up there on the screen. They say that microdosing appears to lift mood and mental functioning on the days it's practiced, but not necessary beyond that, says Dr. Michelle St. Pierre, who has a postdoctoral psychology researcher at the University of British Columbia. Says that these findings help clarify how and when microdosing effects are felt, using data from the microdose.me project. Described as the world's largest international daily diary study of real-world microdosing, researchers asked 1,435 participants each morning whether they had microdosed and how they felt across 6 key variables. The study used multi-level modeling to identify statistically significant differences across all 6 areas on dosing days. Well-being showed the strongest improvements, followed by correctiveness, focus, complication, productivity, and creativity. Most doses vary from 1/10 to 1/20th of a recreational dose, they said. Now, typical practices alternate varying proportions of non-dosing days to limit the rapidly tolerance that can develop with so-called classic psychedelics, such as psilocybin and LSD. Now, the study's prospective design, tracking experiences in real time rather than relying on retrospective recall, helps reduce memory bias that can affect self-reported data. However, Dr. St. Pierre cautioned that as the observational study, the research cannot definitely separate genuine pharmacological effects from expectation or placebo effects. They're saying, while interest in microdosing has grown rapidly, scientific research has only emerged over the past 15 years. Do you know that the means popular use has outpaced the scientific support to back it up? Yeah, it's just been exploding. It's just like the cannabis research articles. They said that basically for the last 5 years on the cannabis research, it's been like 4,000 papers have been produced on the benefits of cannabis. And this basically is, not giving numbers, but they're explaining that it is exploding as far as getting the information and stuff out there. And I know that here at Psychedelics and Cannabis Educational News, we got to agree that there's a lot of it coming out. So, well, folks, that's it for today. I hope you found it educational and informative, with more to come this coming Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern. I say thanks to our viewers for this and listeners for tuning in. Plus, thank you to our sponsors, Limestone City Hydroponics.ca, the Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, and at ease.ca. Plus, yes, that's right. Plus, don't forget to educate, medicate, and do not incarcerate.
You're listening to the Pace Radio Network here at paceradio.net.
The opinions of the individuals during this broadcast are their own, and may not be the opinions of their group or other organizations they may be involved with. All medical advice during our broadcast is not a medical opinion and should be checked with your medical physician.
Enjoy the buzz of legalization with Campbellford Lifestyle Shop. From lights to plant nutrients, books, consumption accessories, and more, we've got all your basics to grow or consume cannabis. Visit our info center or take a look at our piercing services and body jewelry, now available in-store through Campbellford Lifestyle Shop, 17 Bridge Street West, Campbellford.
Limestone City Hydroponics is Kingston, Ontario's hydroponics shop. Take your growing to the next level and create the optimal environment with a tent kit, or maximize your yield with an ebb and flow flood table kit. Either way, Limestone City Hydroponics has more sizes and options to fit your needs. Are you looking for the power of the sun that adapts to your budget? Then look no further, as they have professional grow lighting. They have indoor grow systems that are easy and cost effective, with many options to fit your living space and lifestyle. Cultivate your growing potential. We have everything you need to succeed. And if you can't make it to the store, they offer local delivery to the greater Kingston area. Remember, when you're looking for experts to help you grow, then look no further than the locally owned Limestone City Hydroponics, 105 Sunderland Drive in Kingston, Ontario. Call them at 613-548-0420.
We are people advocating cannabis education here at paceradio.net.